of you oldies know what a kaleidoscope is. It strikes me that tonight we're getting a kaleidoscope of impressions that different people have had and projecting on the rest of us. Some things will be very dear to me that may not be to some of you. Bear with us. We also got a perspective on John and Phil, and just want to say a couple of things about that. But I'll start out with a little rumor that's done the round. It's reported, and some say it's reliably reported, that John and Thelma were, that John Jacob rather, was born too soon. Somebody says that he never liked any teacher in all his youth until a certain special teacher came along. Reputation had it that he didn't learn much until she came. And now if you listen to John talk, he's learned a lot. Not only his own testimony, that's mine too. He's learned a lot. If the first was true, I certainly believe the second. And that was part of my joy, learning so much with John and with Thelma over the many years we've come to know them. It's also reliably reported that Thelma kind of avoided John at first. I'm not sure if he ever found out why, but she did find out that he would be her most alert, eager learner, even if some said he was a slow learner. What she didn't know, that every time John told her he loved her, there was another child on the way. As it turned out, it enhanced the love relationship of the two. Their kids have not only been a great honor to mom and dad, they have also been a great joy to them. And so, on balance, would they want to do it any differently? We got an impression, Ellen and I, early in their life that Thelma had to lead kind of a double life. There was all these homebodies waiting for some more homeschooling. They were so shy with a teacher like Father had been. And then there was all the home cooking, and lo and behold, today there are 4 spoiled brats witnessing to the fact they like home so much, they're still there. This has got to be a near record. I have another impression. If you know what an impression means, in a wax tablet, as the Romans would make impressions, John used to do it on 2 of my fingers. I was proud enough, if not too poor, to buy a Calvin College ring, and when those things, graduation ring, and when they're new, they have a fairly definite impression of the college administration building that has since gone to the Grand Rapids School of the Bible and Music, and of John Calvin's heart in hand, my Lord, I offer to you my life promptly and sincerely. And that impression was not meant to be put in wax. It wasn't meant to be put in my hand either. But John Trent always managed it when he shook my hand. I never admitted just how I dreaded his handshake. It's okay now. This is worn and so is he. Quite apart from that fairly hard impression, John leaves me the impression that he's a gentleman. And I do not know to this day, and I don't want to embarrass his kids, but I venture to say he never put his hand on the backside of any of them. I think. Are you going to make me a liar, John? Anyway, I was talking about impressions.
Don't ask the kids about it.
Maybe after class and before communion. After all, I don't want to go around with a heavy conscience for leaving Uncle Ari in this kind of a misimpression. You know, when the kids came, we enjoyed growing up with them because ourselves were just a couple of years younger and our children came just a couple of years later. But one impression I have is of Jacob, and it's not his anniversary particularly, but then again in a way it is. I have to tell you about Jacob and his security blanket. We drove up one time from I don't know where, but somewhere in Canada. And as we drove up, we saw Jacob with his hand stretched out, and as we looked to where that went, it was feeling either some fluff or some satin on a blanket that itself was hanging on the line. And his mom explained she just couldn't endure Jacob handling that filthy blanket anymore as he was sucking his you-know-what. And so she washed it, and Jacob waited for the blanket to dry and welcomed us as if with open hand and It's funny how some impressions stick with you. More seriously, we were also here when Vicky was taken home, and we knew then what faith means and family. I'm sorry. But we have had that sadness in our lives. We've seen it in yours, and we learned to love you more deeply. Miss Thelma also lost a sister in her younger years, and that too is part of life. I alluded to our confession in Lord's Day 1, what is your only comfort in my prayer? And that too we have cherished. It wasn't all rival fun. The fact is, there wasn't that much rival fun. John and Thelma surely had to work very, very hard, and so did the children, very young in life, and who among you doesn't know what it means to work hard. We appreciated the opportunities to do some camping together. We did it in Trout Lake, I remember, when the children thought they could outsmart some chipmunks by trying to catch them and put a hat or something over their heads. They never made it, but the chipmunks had a lot of fun at the expense of the kids, and we thought it was fun to sort of live with the kids again. And then there was North Wisconsin. I'm not sure that anything went wrong, but we went halfway across the Canadian shield, and they came halfway across the great northern part of the USA to meet in the middle. And we appreciated that too. They didn't simply assume that preachers get paid holidays, which is of course true, but they didn't assume that preachers always have to go to their family. They said, let's meet in the middle. I loved it, and so did Ellen. There was a time that we were in Calgary, and we were going to have a great time doing some camping in the mountains. The only trouble was our Chrysler broke down. Somebody told us preachers needed the Chrysler. Well, I could have done with less expenses on repairs. But that sort of broke that notion down. And furthermore, John had his little Ford delivery van. I don't know what you really called it. Any van you see today just would not want to be compared to the jalopy he brought to Calgary with all his kids. But they limped in, and then the thing had to go in for repairs, and we never did see the Rockies as near as I recall. But we saw each other, and that seemed like that's what mattered most. That's the way it was. You know, John, I never told you how I looked up the factory owners. I always thought that finally I'd get into some money family, you know. And every time we come home, he'd tell me all elsewhere. He'd tell me all kinds of beautiful things that were mechanical, and I was desperately trying to catch up with whether he would want me to say yes or no to all these intricate explanations of mechanical things. But frankly, I wasn't just part of that world at all. But it was fun to see the factory transform from brick to wood, and from wood and stone to yet something else. It was good to live along with you, also in respect of all your big ideas and your wild dreams shared with, and some originated by your brothers, and to find that there is something creative in every one of us, because the Creator, by His Word and Spirit, lives in us, and there is a way of that coming out, and I delight in that fellowship with brothers and sisters in the Lord. We had a lot of fun, even this morning yet, going out with the nature lover named John Jacob Drent, just sort of riding around the countryside. I don't know how many times I can approach a hill and see something different again, because there seem to be many ways of approaching any one of the hills around here. It's just beautiful, and it's just so much fun to share. But that's not the only thing. There was a time when our youngest daughter fell asleep at the wheel on Highway 75 near to Gaylord, and when she and her sister above her both woke up, luckily, by the Lord's grace, not hurt, just badly shaken, they were on the phone crying to us who were going to come here for Labor Day weekend. Oh, no, they were coming home for Labor Day weekend. That's how it was. And we would get this long-distance telephone call. The kids were disoriented, didn't know what to do or where to go, and said, here we are, and the car won't go. What shall we do? And we said, where are you? And when I got a sense of where they were, no, you weren't there yet, Wes, I don't think. We didn't think of you anyway. I hope you weren't living there yet. We said, you're within an hour of Uncle John and Aunt Thelma. And the tears seemed to dry, at least the voice got steady, and I said, can you take a phone number? Yeah, they took a phone number, and within an hour, there was Uncle John with some stalwart sons, and the kids were almost riding off with a Prince Valiant. But But in any case, it was so much fun then for us to drive into the night and find John and Thelma all the more ready to give us another good time, for that's what we've had every time. But one thing I cherish most, and I want the rest to know, because John is a candidate for office, and I'm not giving a candidate speech, but we had our serious talks, and I just love it, because John can talk about the children, and he can talk about the church, any aspect of faith that might come into the head of a silly seminarian. It comes into the head of a level-headed believer living in Ellsworth, and we just had such good times. John, I hope the Lord spares us for one another and for all of you whom you love for one another, because life is just so much more precious for having you in it. Thank you.
I don't like these things very well. I tried to talk Amy into introducing her songs, but she wasn't excited about the idea, so I guess I better do it. She wanted to sing All Through the Day and Night. It's got some neat words about being in the Lord's hands all the time. The second time she sings it, she's going to do some sign language, so you kids in the front row can kind of watch that. The second song she wants to sing is Sing and Celebrate, and it's a neat song for today.